We have a lot to get through, so let's just take it from the top. What better way to kick off this creepy list than with the king of creepypastas himself, Notch's supposed dead brother, Herobrine. Even if you don't play Minecraft, you've at least heard or know of Herobrine. What first started as a mysterious 4chan post depicting the player character with white eyes obscured in dense fog, quickly evolved into a key part of the Minecraft lore as a whole, being featured in all kinds of official Minecraft media like the main website, skin packs, and even the patch notes. Herobrine has become somewhat of a running joke between the player base and the developers. In fact, I'd even go as far as to say that the very reason Minecraft is so creepy to play even to this day is because of the colossal influence that Herobrine has had on the community. If you're ever playing Minecraft alone, it's very common to feel as though you're being watched. And that, to me, is what the true spirit of Herobrine is. The devs have gone on record countless times swearing that Herobrine is not and has never been real. Notch himself has even confirmed over and over again that he doesn't even have a dead brother at all. Though despite this, players still can't shake the fear that eventually Herobrine will finally make his way into the game in some form. And with how extensive this most recent April Fool's update was, it's slowly becoming more and more likely every single day. The very first of its kind was the Cave Dweller. Remember that feeling of being watched I mentioned just a minute ago? Well, this mod takes that underlying feeling and turns it into a terrifying reality. It was initially created by a user named Gargan, and because of its overwhelming popularity, it very quickly inspired other creators to bring countless more of these horrific beasts into creation. From the Midnight Lurker to the Man in the Fog, these dwellers, although just a mod, actually do a great job of proving one thing: that the scariest part of Minecraft always has and always will be the community itself. While Herobrine is a bit more tame, only modifying worlds in minor ways like making little tunnels in caves or leaving signs or shaving trees, Null is a bit more unhinged. He'll glitch your computer, corrupt your world, and even crash your game entirely. Herobrine and all the stories I've read about him generally describe him as just a watcher, a spectator, someone who lurks in the shadows and only really changes minute details about your world. But Null is seemingly a lot scarier. In the original story written by Along Came Josh, the author begins by stating that he downgraded his game to beta 1.2.5 in order to relive some nostalgia that came with that version. Everything seemed relatively calm at first. He goes mining like he's done 100 times before, and as he's walking back home, he notices a redstone torch in the corner of his eye. Thinking it's just a joke by the devs, he carries on walking. Upon reaching his house, he discovers a sign on his front door with one simple word: Null. Again, thinking it's a prank that apparently must have just bugged out, Josh enters his shelter and skips the night. The next morning, however, the story takes a rather dark turn. Glitchy noises that sound like crying can be heard before they suddenly transform into corrupted, distorted voices. The author states that he exited his wooden shack upon hearing the strange sounds, but is interrupted when Herobrine lands behind him. He turns around as fast as he can and comes face to face with the ghostly figure before his game crashes. After this, he's understandably had enough and tries to contact Mojang themselves. But of course, he doesn't get anything back except one simple message: we cannot say anything regarding the topic of Herobrine. Being pretty fed up at this point but still wanting to play Minecraft, he bites the bullet and decides to update his game to the latest version. But the damage to his game had unfortunately been permanent. It would just take a little bit before our author finally realizes it. Things seem okay for a little bit once again. He starts building up his world little by little. All seems well and left in the past until Null decides to show his face for the final time. Upon logging into his world one day after school, Josh doesn't spawn in his house. Instead, he spawns deep underground, so far below the surface in fact that he can see bedrock particles lingering in the air around him. He turns up his brightness so he can actually see what's going on, and begins traveling through a narrow 1-block wide tunnel that's in front of him. After a while, he gets tired of it and tries to turn back, but to his surprise, his only way out has been blocked off with stone. So, having no other choice, he carries on, until he reaches a sign with something written in what looks like Swedish. He quickly screenshots the message and exits the game. And when he runs it through a translator, this is what it reads. I need help. Do you remember playing during the golden age of Minecraft? If so, do you remember the man you were greeted by every now and then? The one who is as black as the night itself? Do not take this monster lightly. I am trapped, and you can blame him. I'm sure you've heard stories about me, how I tortured innocent players. Every single one of them is false. I am feared upon being a very evil entity, but I'm not. I'm one of the good guys. That man you've seen before, he is different. He is evil. Please, tell everyone that I'm trapped. Maybe they'll have a solution. But if you for some reason choose not to help, well, then it's his game now. Entity 303, much like Herobrine, is another one of those classic evil characters out to destroy Minecraft. This one's a little different though. While Herobrine is said to be a creature within the actual game, almost possessing it like some type of spirit, Entity 303 is described as being a group of ex-Mojang employees dead set on bringing down Notch's creation. What's strange about this one is the role of Herobrine in this story. In most other media other than the Null story we just covered, Herobrine is usually the big bad, being able to corrupt worlds and delete servers and stuff like that. But in this story, Herobrine is actually in trouble, frequently leaving messages like help in Swedish. This story is a great read and all, but there's one thing that actually kinda creeps me out about it. In the original story, written around 2011 or 2012, the author states that in the year 2014, Entity 303 will take over and ruin the game. And although this just seems like a fun, scary story about some group of disgruntled hackers, something actually did happen in 2014 that a lot of players claim destroyed the game. What is it? Well, 2014 is the exact year that Microsoft bought Minecraft, which led to Minecraft Bedrock Edition being developed, which is widely considered across the community to be the worst version of Minecraft. Now that's definitely something to think about. This next one unironically gives me chills. Oldroot is by far the most cryptic, convoluted, and mysterious ARG I have ever seen. In July of 2014, a Reddit user named Lewis Green received an Imgur link that led him to this picture. Brightening the image revealed a faceless, Steve-like figure in a dark oak forest. If you look closely though, you can make out another link, this time to an audio clip from SoundCloud. Turning this audio into a spectrogram revealed the words, Silent Raven. If we then take a closer look at the SoundCloud profile itself, we can discover another audio file. Turning this one into a spectrogram uncovered yet another Imgur link. This image is of the same faceless creature in some sort of void, with the words, "The Raven is watching" below its feet. Not long after this, another Reddit user asked Oldroot for more information. He then received a link for the next image. This one contained another link to a password-protected Tumblr page. And at this point, it would seem as though we've reached a dead end. But if we try to input the words Silent Raven revealed in the spectrogram before, we can gain access to the page, which leads us to the next image. This one depicts the same faceless figure standing at the end of a long corridor. Analyzing this image like we did all the others revealed a string of Morse code, which when translated simply says, Oldroot. Very soon after this was discovered, Reddit user Lewis Green received a second message from Oldroot, and yet again, another image of the strange figure was discovered. This time, when brightening the image, we get some jumbled text above its head. It was quickly determined that this was a Caesar cipher, and when decoded, it said, "We are waiting." Pretty creepy, but we aren't done with this image just yet. Below its feet, we can make out more jumbled text. But instead of this being another Caesar cipher, it instead was a link to yet another image. And by this point, I'm sure you can begin to piece together the kind of thing we're dealing with here. I'll cut this a bit short to avoid lingering on this topic for too long, but long story short, after countless ciphers, images, and even a couple videos, this ARG has still never been solved. The creator of the ARG was actually revealed to be Alex Bale himself, fellow theorist and content creator right here on YouTube. Now, don't get me wrong, even though this ARG has never been solved, Alex has confirmed that there is an end to this story. We just haven't uncovered it yet. Perhaps by reevaluating all the clues we've been given, we can finally put an end to this 10-year-long ARG once and for all. But until then, this mystery, unfortunately, remains unsolved. Giant Alex refers to a strange mob that is only available in a specific seed and on a specific version of the Optifine mod. She will walk around your world leaving footprints that are 3x2x2 in size. The first person who discovered Giant Alex is unknown, but according to the creepypasta, if you go to the 1.12.2 version of Optifine, create a world and set the difficulty to peaceful, and have your render distance at 6 chunks, then put your fog distance at 0.2 chunks, and on top of all that, input this seed, it's said that you can find her yourself. But make sure to tread lightly. If you get too close, your character will most definitely get killed. That is, if your game doesn't crash first. Green Steve is yet another Minecraft entity that invades people's worlds. Not much is known about this one in particular, but there is one short story that I will read for you in my own words. A player creates a new world and spawns in a desert. They wander around until they discover a desert temple. Upon entering and breaking down into the treasure room, they accidentally make the fatal mistake that I'm sure many of us have made when we find one of these temples. They accidentally step on the pressure plate that activates the TNT trap below. But to their relief, none of the TNT actually ignited. Feeling incredibly lucky, they begin searching the chests, only to have Green Steve fall into the treasure room after them. He punches them once, which teleports them into a bedrock chamber filled with creepers. This understandably scared them, so they exited the game before the creepers could explode. A little bit later, they enter the same world again, but this time they spawn in a dark oak forest as if they had just created a fresh world. Amongst their confusion, they notice a chat log by a player named Green Steve, saying only the words, "I'm coming." Being pretty freaked out but intrigued by this message, they continue on exploring this dark oak biome they've found themselves in. After a bit of walking, they stumble across their old starter house. But strangely enough, they remember building it in the desert where they initially spawned the first time. Not all the way out here in a random dark oak forest. Nevertheless, they go inside and look around. Not long after, Green Steve comes in through the door behind them. He types, "Hey brother," in the chat before blowing up the player. It seemed as though the TNT trap from earlier finally caught up with them. And then, out of sheer confusion, they simply log off of that world and never join it again. Minecraft is a game that already feels pretty alive on its own, but what if it actually was? This next entry is about a lost version of Minecraft that supposedly never released. This version of the game is actually real, and although it's just a mod, you can still play it for yourself. But I do have to point out that the contents of the game might be disturbing for those who choose to play. I highly recommend going in blind if you actually decide to though. But for the people watching who don't want to take the effort to download this mod, I'll give you a brief summary of how this version of the game operates. In between updates for Minecraft, the developers at Mojang decided for whatever reason that they had to switch things up a bit. So they chose to completely rebuild the game's code from scratch. Only this time, something went terribly wrong during the process. causing the game to quite literally come to life. Upon opening the game, you can immediately tell this is not the Minecraft we're typically used to. First off, the menu screen is covered in ever-changing bits of jumbled text, and the calm, serene music that usually plays in the title screen is replaced by this creepy, unsettling buzzing sound that just lingers in your head even when you get past the menu. It has this sort of effect that I can't really describe, where it just sticks with you and you can still hear it even when you're not in the game anymore. And once you actually advance past the menu and click Create World, Creative Mode and all other modes except Survival are unavailable. It's almost as if the game itself wants you to feel vulnerable the entire time. And let me tell you, from experience playing this mod, you feel like you're in danger from the very moment you first spawn in. And speaking of when you spawn in, you'll quickly notice that it's impossible to tell how much health or hunger you have left. Your health bar has been replaced with jumbled glitchy textures. And upon wandering around your newly created cursed world, you'll discover a lot of oddities within the landscape that normal Minecraft just doesn't have. I mean, I know the game's world generation is pretty dodgy at times, but I'm sure none of you have ever seen vanilla Minecraft generate something like this. And that's not even the start of it. If you actually want to progress in this game and somehow make it to the end, you'd better be prepared for all the wild crap it'll potentially throw at you. I wasn't lying before when I said this game came to life. It most definitely feels like something in this version of the game is out to get you the entire time. You'll randomly get struck by lightning, have creepers spawned on you that explode instantly, have your game freeze and seize up on you, even this strange distorted mob will spawn and try to kill you. And that's still not even scratching the surface of all the possibilities. If I can give any sort of assessment on this particular entry's fear factor, I would certainly say that this game very much feels alive. But not just that, it is angry. This next one refers to another evil entity that resides in a place called the Freak Town. This entity can transport into your Minecraft world at will, and change it in any way it pleases. In some cases, completely reconstructing player-made structures somewhere totally different on the map than where they originally were, much like the Green Steve creepypasta we mentioned a bit earlier. This creature is depicted as being a heavily mutated version of Steve, with 3 sets of arms, long legs, and extra eyes. This story in particular is unique in the way that it hints towards an entire world or dimension where all the creepypastas we just talked about call their home. But the eerie part about this fact is that according to the story, not all of these AIs are actually AIs at all, possibly indicating that perhaps they are actual human souls somehow trapped in the game, forever stuck in this freak world waiting for someone to eventually break the seal between that world and our own, so they can finally roam free into whatever realm they desire. This one refers to 2 disturbing audio files that players theorize is created by the people at Mojang themselves. Ashes 1 Ashes is much more empty, featuring only a long static type noise with what sounds like clicks at the end. Meanwhile, Ashes 2 Ashes is arguably much more unsettling. If you listen close, you can hear what appears to be either crying or strange laughing, followed by a weird high-pitched noise that, when turned into a spectrogram, reveals a picture of what looks like Steve. But I know me describing it doesn't really do it justice, so let's just take a listen together.
Ya se no exploté.
Considering that stuff like this has been done by the devs in the past, for instance in Disc 11, it's pretty easy to believe that this was created by them in an effort to get people talking. But as there is no definitive proof that it was indeed made by Mojang, I unfortunately cannot confirm or deny that theory. There are tons and tons of registered SCPs in the world, so many in fact that I could do an entire video dedicated to just how many of them there are. But of all the strange anomalies that are out there, this is the only one that I know of that somehow manifested itself inside of Minecraft. It's said that if you view this monster head on without any protective gear, you will start to see hallucinations. This creature is apparently so dangerous it has itself an entire containment center equipped with a failsafe and everything, in case SCP-4335 somehow manages to get out of it. In the off chance that it actually makes it past all of the defenses, it'll slowly consume blocks until it's gathered enough energy to transfer itself into a different server, where it can continue to wreak havoc with no one being able to stop it. The only known way to weaken its power is by throwing ender pearls at it, but since going into creative or using cheats in any server with SCP-4335 inside of it results in the server crashing, someone has to be constantly gathering ender pearls in order to hopefully keep it at bay. Endermen are one of the most mysterious mobs that Minecraft has to offer. They're incredibly strong and fast, and they can even teleport away before getting hit. But according to this story, there's another Enderman variant, one that's far scarier to deal with. You're most likely to find one of these white Endermen in a stronghold, as that's the last structure you need to locate in order to reach the end. Upon finding one, you'll notice it'll be inverted in colors, with its skin being Arctic white and its eyes being a hypnotizing green, with the same color of particles emanating from its body much like normal Endermen. But make no mistake, this variant of the well-known mob has some very key differences. For one, water doesn't affect it in any way. In fact, it can even run on top of the water as if it were just part of the ground. It can follow you large distances even from Y-12 all the way back to the surface. It can disguise itself as a normal Enderman then quickly switch back, revealing its true self. And probably the strangest and sketchiest of all, when it kills you, you don't respawn, even if you aren't on hardcore. All of these things combined make me pretty glad that these aren't actually in the game. Or are they? This next corrupted entity takes the form of a twisted-looking villager. Much like all the other creepypastas we've talked about today, this creature has the ability to modify components of your world, like the time of day and certain game rules. It can also teleport players to it and ban players out of your server, kind of like if it was an operator of the world. But perhaps the creepiest thing about this pasta is the fact that it can pretty much hijack an entire server and become the host, allowing it to ban the former host and delete the world from the actual world folder itself, which indicates that once it somehow finds its way into your world, it's also inside of your computer as well. Not much is known about how to summon this creature, but if it can potentially yoink your entire world from you, well, I guess that just gives everyone a little extra incentive to maybe treat your ordinary villagers with a bit more respect. Error 422 isn't the only cursed version of the game. As it turns out, there is actually one more that we'll be discussing today. I wasn't actually able to find an author for this story, but this version of the game, much like Error 422, actually exists for you to download yourself. I must warn you though, it is pretty disturbing if you do in fact choose to play. I'll quickly go through my experience for those of you who don't wish to be subjected to this yourself. When you first spawn in, the very first thing you'll notice is there's absolutely no sound. There is a very loud death scream noise that sometimes plays when you first start a world, but in my personal experience, I wasn't able to make that sound play. As far as the actual gameplay itself, it is very similar to early alpha Minecraft versions. However, there are, of course, some key differences. As you traverse through the infinite world, you'll stumble across a bunch of strange structures along the way. One of which is a series of very tall bedrock pillars, and another seems to be random groups of upside-down crosses, possibly indicating that this version is somehow satanic in a way. The further you go, you'll start to see a message on screen every so often that lets you know that some sort of music disc has begun playing. Although, much like the death screen mentioned a second ago, I myself haven't been able to actually listen to the music due to there being no sound. Another thing I want to point out that most likely warrants an epilepsy warning is a random event that can occur which causes the sky to quickly flash between day and night over and over until you leave the world. But probably the creepiest thing about this cursed version of the game is that occasionally you'll spot a glitchy apparition in the dense fog, reminiscent of Herobrine's very first sighting. This strange, glitchy individual will chase you throughout your travels, growing closer and closer to you as you play. This could be where the death scream is supposed to come in, but unfortunately we can only speculate because I couldn't for the life of me get this thing to appear, at least not to my knowledge. Nevertheless, there are some screenshots of this figure, and although I can't confirm its existence, I do highly recommend you play this game for yourself to see what happens to you. The last thing we're going to be talking about today is a series of videos posted on Legend Finder's channel, where he claims that staring at the Minecraft moon will cause random effects to occur if you wait long enough. Most of these videos consist of him just staring at the moon and experimenting with different conditions to see what happens. He's looked at the moon while holding a clock the entire time to see if it malfunctions in any way. He's stared at the moon in different locations like the entrance to a cave to somehow see if that does anything. He's also stared at the moon for the entire Minecraft night straight through to morning, and he's even jumped into the end portal at exactly midnight in the game to see if it takes him anywhere different. In one of these videos, he stares at the moon for the entire night, and at the end of the video, his computer inexplicably crashes. But fast forward to the very next video, and all of the blocks in his world have been replaced with endstone, possibly mimicking moon rock. The creepy part about this specific video is the dark shadowy figure that seems to scurry across the screen in the background. This figure is never explained and doesn't appear again, at least as far as I can tell. I'm not entirely sure if staring at the moon for extended periods of time actually causes anything to happen. Probably not, or it would most likely have been documented by now. But the only thing I can say with certainty is that this series is definitely a mystery. And there you have it, everyone. The Minecraft Creepypasta Iceberg. If there's any stories I may have missed, make sure to post them in the comments below and I'll make a part 2 if there are enough of them. This video has been in the works for a while, so if you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you want more creepy videos just like this. Alright everyone, that's gonna be it for me. I love every single one of you with all my heart. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, it's fun to be scared. See you next time.